Alrighty. Hi. To God damn it, this is gonna be the worst. This is gonna be completely unedited, by the way. Just so you guys can it's a little bit of a get to know the author kinda, because you only ever see me at the author's notes at the end. Never really talk to or hear me ramble like an idiot. It's always just very sophisticated, well thought out typing, and then now it's just me talking, which is great. But I mean, to any of you watching this, most of you should know what this is about, even if the title. We're talking about Projects Past, and evidently, if we're talking about that, I am Chinsangan. This is me. Hello. Yeah, I'm just. Some of the fan art that's drawn looks oddly like me, which isn't intentional. The only one that's intentional is my profile picture. This is not my fault. I never tell people to do that, so whatever. You can't fault that on me. I'm just some generic blonde-haired kid. No, nothing special. I'm not super muscular, super, I don't know, overweight or anything. I'm just a regular kid. Just 20-year-old writing stories, having fun. Hi, how you doing? But today, in this video, obviously, god damn it, Forrest, we're talking about Projects Past. So Projects Past finally came to its end after a little over 3 years. It started in August 25th, and it ended around September something. I honestly don't remember off the top of my head. 13th, 12th, maybe. I should have researched this more. God damn it. But yeah, so Projects Past is a very long story. I mean, I think Quotev has it marked at like 1,200 pages. Granted, that's Quotev pages. That isn't like book pages. And then it said, I think it's 300 or 400,000 words or something like that, around there. So it's a lot. Like, it's a huge book. A lot of things doing in it. Massive undertaking. If you're gonna tell little young Forrest, little 17-year-old Forrest, you're like, hey, you're gonna write this massive Frozen fan fiction. I'd be like, writing? I don't even like reading, let alone writing. But now look at me. I don't even read still, but I write like there's no tomorrow every day. Freaking writing. Just, I guess no more Projects Past though. So we're gonna be going over some of your guys, actually, the audience's comments, reviews, etc., over the websites. What you guys said, and then I just have a couple dot jots. I'm honestly, no doubt, I'm gonna go off track, and I'm just gonna start talking. So my apologies if I do that. But that's just how it is. What are you gonna do? So I guess, yeah, let's just get started. So Projects Past, the beginning. I never even cared or even like read any fan fiction prior to. It actually started with Merrick Cat Picked, which I've talked about a lot in my author's notes of Projects Past. He wrote a Frozen story, and I don't even remember how I even found it. I remember it. I remember laying in my bed, and I remember looking up on my phone, Elsa. I don't even know why, again. And then, X Reader popped up, and I was like, what the hell is an X Reader? And, I clicked it. And that wasn't my first story, actually. There was another one who I can't remember it off the top of my head. But I read that one, and I was like, wow, this is actually pretty cool. And then I read his story. I believe it's called The Royal Guard or something along those lines. And I don't know what was I don't know what it had that really gripped me. I loved it. I read that before I even watched the movie. I was so just gripped by the story, and I just loved it. And I don't know why that I loved it so much. I hated Frozen. It was rubbed in my face so much. It was like, yeah, Forrest, you should read Frozen. Frozen's a pretty good movie. You should go watch it. And I'm like, no. I don't like to be told to do things. I like to do them. because I want to, not because a bunch of other people tell me to. And I actually only watched Frozen because of the fan fiction. I only watched it because Meerkat picked. Frig, man. I only got to read that book once. I actually might be hyping up his book. Because, again, that was 3 years ago. You know, nostalgia might take over me, you know. But I still loved it. And it kind of inspired me. I was like, you know what? I got my friend, Abigail. She was the beta reader for the longest time, Nuclear Deadline. Couldn't have done it without her. Shout out to her, of course. She's one of my personal friends. One of my best friends. And, you know, I even remember she was like, a Frozen fan? What? Like, why? And I'm like, I don't know. I just want to do this. And I started Projects Past, and I remember, I think I started really small. Like, obviously, I started on fanfiction.net, and I was super small. I had nothing. I was just like, yeah, let's write it. And at the time, LSAX readers were actually really popular. There was a lot of them. Granted, there weren't a whole lot of great ones. And I can't even say Projects Past was a great one when it first came out, because that was my first time I tried to write any books in general. Like, sure, there's like essays and things like that for school, but writing a book, and especially in second person, like, I wanted to not copy, but, you know, I was inspired by Meerkat Pick's story, so I wanted to write that Reader X character story, so I went with second person, just as how I was shown it. And, you know, I just started off, and, you know, it started off as this dynamic. It started off so simple. It really did. And the thing I didn't like about that is I actually think that the whole Act 1, Chapter 1 to 16, is probably the best for, like, regular, you know, people who just kind of want to see two characters get together, whatever, some high school stuff. Because high school, that's a huge thing, especially for the Elsa X reader. High school was a major setting for it. I think a lot of stories did it. I remember there were a ton of stories. Most of them didn't go past like 10 chapters, at least on fanfiction.net, because I didn't move from fanfiction.net until like a year after I started. So I was just on fanfiction. And, you know, like a lot of the stories were really basic, you know, and I'm not going to blame it. My story was basic. You compare Chapter 1 of Projects Past to even, say, Chapter 1 of Crimson Shadow. You know, two books that start at different points in my writing career, and you can see how different they start. Like, the quality. You know, it's a massive jump, so I'm not even going to try and say that Projects Past was really good when it started. It wasn't. It was an average story, you know. No one can tell me differently. They were really short, too. I think the chapters really only consisted of, like, 2,000 words or so. And then they slowly jumped. I think Chapter 5 was really long, if I remember correctly. Like, the chapters just started getting bigger and bigger. Get to 5,000 words, 7,000 words, 10,000 words. And I think I still to this day, I've always gone around that area. My chapters usually range from 7,000 to 12,000 words on average, you know. Some go, like, bigger chapters can go huge. I think one chapter I wrote, it might have been almost 20,000 words. And those are, like, special time. Those are, like, you know, those are usually, like, the finale ones. That are the bigger ones. But usually I try and stay within that frame for my full-length stories. Like, you know, my short stories or one-shots, they're usually, you know, 1 to 5,000. They're usually about 3 to 5,000 words. But my full stories are about 7 to 12,000. But at the time, 12,000 words? Yeah, that was probably like the first 5 chapters in total was about, like, you know, 10,000, 12,000 words. Which is insane to think now that, you know, that early state of Projects Past is basically nothing for me. That's like the first chapter of anything. That's just a chapter now. Like, the first 5 chapters is just one now for me. It's insane to think about, honestly, just that growth. And I always tell people that, you know, people walk up, they're just like, hey, I'm starting the story, how do you do? And it's always like, you got to start comfortably, and then work your way up. But comfortably doesn't mean script format, because script format is a bane of my existence and isn't meant for fan. That's a completely different topic. I'm not going to get off on that. I could go on an entire rant, but script format. Projects Past. I remember, actually, early Projects Past, I would actually have like a couple chapters. I think I actually released the first 3 chapters in the first night. Which, I guess, technically, when you think about it like that could be around like 7,000 words, which does kind of equate to my current chapters. So, technically, I was still writing the same, but I break them up differently. And I still didn't know what I was doing, Like, I was actually asked once if Night Reader, I'm just going to call the reader Night, okay? So Night versus Shadow was the end goal. And it always was. It genuinely was. Like, even when it wasn't about Dracons and, timelines and stuff like that, like, before it was all about that, I always had Shadow versus the reader versus Knights in some way. Like, something had to happen between those two. There's always carnage, yes, but it was always those two. Because they were there through the whole story. Those are the 2 characters. So, something was going to happen with them, but like early Projects Past, I didn't really have a full grip. I think it really came, it became its own story in the second act, I think, because early Projects Past, like chapter, and when I say early, I mean more like Act 1, it wasn't that different from a lot of other L-Sex Reader stories. It really wasn't. It was, it just kind of followed the same formula, And I really wanted to break off from that, which is why it turned into something more. And I know some people complain about Projects Past, and that's fair. That's fair. That, it's not... It stopped being about Elsa and the reader, and more about the reader's, journey. Or it more became about Hunter, and I remember some people said. And, that's not a bad criticism at all. It is. I know that. But that's mostly because when I write a story, I like to do plot and then romance as like a side plot. Like, I like to have, there's a reason that my story is being told. There's a plot, there's a beginning, middle, and end, and the romance spans the whole thing. And, I probably would have done it differently if I'd rewritten Projects Past now. Like, I guarantee you, the reader and Elsa would not have gotten together in 10 chapters. Or no, I think they got together in like 6. Or no. Yeah, no, it was the first 10. The first, at chapter 10 is when they got together. And I would not have done that if I'd written it now. Or, granted, as I've said, chapter 10 probably would be like chapter 3 or 4 nowadays. But then again, if I'd written it now, it wouldn't have, the pacing would have been different. But you get what I mean, right? It would have been different. It probably would have been more drawn out. Not drawn out. It just would have been different. Like, take my word for it. It wouldn't have been the same. It kind of would have been like, Crimson Shadow. That's my best example of a newer story of how it's kind of, it has more to it. But I mean, it was, getting that story all started and stuff, establishing the hierarchy, the Duke and Duchess, I actually feel bad because I brought Elsa and Anna's parents back just to be an antagonist for like 3 chapters and then die. Again, that would have been something I would have changed, definitely. I still would have had them die. That would have been the Act 1 finale, but they definitely would have been around for longer. It wouldn't have just been like, hey, we're here, we don't like you, we're kind of dicks, we're actually evil, we're gonna try and kill you now. That's basically what it was. And I can judge my own book. Projects Past isn't perfect. Even the later chapters aren't perfect by any means. I'm no official writer. I'm not a professional. I'm completely self-taught. Everything I know and all the progress I've made is just from writing constantly over 3 years. I never claimed to be professional, but I can still judge my own work. But I think through the middle, I mean, freaking Act 1 is 16 chapters. Act 3 is... I don't even think Act 3 is 10 chapters. I don't know. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. But, I mean, like, Act 2, that's a huge portion of the story. That's literally, like, 30 chapters is Act 2. And it's ridiculous, like, how much I managed to do. I introduced, as I said, the hierarchy, the monarchy, Alec, Eric, all the Westergaards. I introduced... It really shouldn't even be called Frozen Projects Past. It should be called Disney, because I introduced Ursula. Well, I mean, you could debate that Corona and, like, Rapunzel and all those is kind of related to Frozen, because there's that theory. And I used it too. But, like, you use Ursula from Little Mermaid, Hook from Peter Pan. I used so much from just Disney. Frickin' San Francisco and the Big Hero 6 were in it. So, it really wasn't Frozen after a time, but it kind of grew into this whole story that wasn't just about Elsa and the reader. It was about the reader's path to finding out who he is and how to stop his father. And, there were a lot of changes throughout Projects Past development. Like, Dracons, the idea of Dracons was actually never meant to be put into Projects Past. It was just a vow to keep thing. And, I kind of thought of a way to connect them. Because, what was it, chapter 25, I think it was, when Knight of Projects Past went to the temple. That's when I knew. Like, a little before that is when I knew that there was going to be a crossover of Vow to Keep and Projects Past. Like, you see how long ago that was? That was chapter 25, and I already had that idea of kind of merging. I had the idea of Act 3 since, like, early Act 2. So, I'd planned a lot ahead, and that's when I really decided that he'd be Dracon, because it was actually W.R. Winters who gave me the idea of a Dracon, or at least the name. I always thought in Vow to Keep the half-human, half-dragon thing, but the name was W.R. Winters, so, I won't take that. But, man, thinking of like how much has changed over that time period, it's ridiculous. It honestly is. And I know it, like, it might be... I think I have my own appreciation of it, being the author, and finally seeing, like, my work done as compared to a reader. Not saying that you guys, readers have any less appreciation of it than I do, but, there's just, like, there's a weight that's lifted off me now that it's done. But that was, it almost wasn't, to be honest. There were massive delays, and anyone who'd been reading Projects Past since early on, that I think Projects Past took months to be updated at times. And to be honest, and I know she would agree with me, it wasn't my fault. It was my friend, Nuclear Deadline. She just wasn't... She was just busy, and I wouldn't blame her for that. People are busy; they can't read over a fan fiction story. Like that's fair. But she would take a while to beta or edit. Sorry, the chapters, and in that time, I just really... I remember I had like 3 chapters ready, and she was still on the first one, so. And then after a while, like, not writing it, not doing all that stuff, it just became such a hassle. And then I got into Crimson Shadow, and then I started loving that, and, other things. But I even remember, because I almost gave up on Projects Past. I did. And I remember I talked to my friend Jack, who actually reads Projects Past as well. And we were talking about it, and, talking about... getting to... This was during Act 2. So, talk about volume... Or Act 3. Getting to that point where he's in the past, where he meets past Elsa, where she's she perishes, he fights Carnage, and then he fights his father, and then Shadow in the end. That final fight, Shadow versus Knight, is really what drove me, because I really wanted to get that done. Like, you guys don't know how excited I was to finally get to that point, because that was just, I think it's still my best fight scene, as of now. Creation and Destruction had that title, in my opinion, for a while.
Creation and Destruction. You're just saying that because you're the one in the fight scene, Chinsangan. You narcissist.
No, it's just the way that fight was just so much fun, and it had nothing to do with me having to intervene in a story, which was even explained in stories, and people call me narcissistic. It's like,
how many self-insert stories there are where they take them seriously. They're actually like, oh, we're so awesome.
But that's not about Projects Past. That's just my own personal rants. It's not nothing. But the the fight between Shadow and Knight was definitely the whole driving force for. Hey, Wesker. Wesker's my cat, by the way. The whole Knight versus Shadow was definitely the thing that drove me, and it definitely lived up to it. I mean, like, I just loved it, how unique it was and how different. Like, all the fights I really do is kind of in like one area, more or less. It's in this one spot. They're fighting. As much as I love, actually, one of my favorite fight scenes was in early Projects Past. I think like very early Act 2, where he's fighting the clone or the simulation, and it makes up the old dragon, the dragon clan's temple, kinda, and he's fighting there, and the earth starts breaking apart, and he's like jumping around. That was actually one of my favorite fight scenes. It still is, actually. Well, I haven't read it over in a while, but I just like the dynamic of that. And then in Shadow versus Knight, where they're in Arendelle, then they're over the water, they're in the sky, they're in San Francisco, they're in Corona, all these different locations, and they're fighting, they're pushing each other into the lava and shooting energy blasts, which, yes, okay, the last fight was anime-ish, leave me alone, like, I don't know how, it was good, okay, it was a lot of fun to write, and I think that was a lot of Projects Past for me. It was just, when I was writing it, I was having a good time. And, some people didn't like, Elsa and the reader are never around, it's all about Hunter, and we don't even like Hunter, nah, but you know what? I was having a lot of fun. I was having a lot of fun. And I think that really came through in the story overall, because it's not meant to be taken, it is kind of meant to be taken seriously, but, it's a fan fiction. And as much as I love my stories, don't get me wrong, I take them very seriously, but they're just fan fictions. They're just written by regular people, like like you. I should have said you and I. God damn it. This is why typing just makes me even sound more professional. But we're just people. We just have fun. Can't say. Anyone says, I definitely didn't get that inspiration from... I don't even have the jacket up here anyway. I was going to show something, but, doesn't even... Frig. You don't even see... I'm not making sense. So, okay, yes, it was kind of inspired by Dragon Ball-esque. I mean, I had the goddamn... Final thing was a Big Bang Kamehameha, and then a Kamehameha, I needed the Final Flash. And heck, I even took one scene from an old game, Naruto Ultimate Ninja. It was, first Hokage Hashirama's ultimate, where Shadow did it, where he climbed him up in the tree and then blew it up. That was actually inspired. I take a lot of inspiration in my fight scenes, because one thing that things like anything, any show, any form of media that's visual, that has fighting, it's a lot easier because you kind of can see what they're doing. And then it's a lot harder for me because I can think it, and I can slightly act out the movements on my own, but in the end, they're just writing, so sometimes it can be tough for me to think up fight scenes, but then again, I would actually declare myself one of the kings of the fight scenes, at least in the second person fandom. Because not a lot of people do those fight scenes, and I don't know. I've just done so many by this point. I would say that it's fair to say that I'm pretty darn good at it. Okay, you can't blame me for that. When you have 3 years, 1, 2, 3, 3 years. You got Projects Past, Vow to Keep, Crimson Shadow, plus all the little mini ones, Creation and Destruction. Because all these things that have done with fight scenes, I think it's fair to say that I'm pretty decent at them, I'd say. Come on, you can't say I'm not. Hey, Wesley, you don't care. I'm just a cat. It's lazy and fat. But, the fight scenes were always a fun thing. I always loved them. And, some people might not like them. Whatever. To each their own. It's fair. But, I've always enjoyed the fight scenes, and I always tried to space them out. I remember when there would be, like, a fight scene almost every chapter, every other chapter, and I'd be like, God damn it, like, I don't want to, but it's kind of have to. Like, I know a lot of people wanted more fluff between Elsa and the reader, especially in the later portions, but there was just no room for it. Like, what was I going to do? Have the reader just go all the way back to Arendelle just for one chapter and then go back? And, it's fine. Nothing really happened. Don't worry. You spent all that time and it was cool. That's just... It couldn't happen. But I guess, I hope that Projects Past will hold its place in the Frozen fandom, or even in the X-Reader fandom, because it's a big story. No one can tell me it's not a big. It's huge. It could be possibly, and again, this is just my guess, but it could possibly be one of the biggest X-Reader stories, like both in chapter length, which is 57, but also in pages and words. Like, it's a big... It's like, you guys have read it. It's huge. Like, it's debatably probably one of the biggest, and, there's a lot to that. I mean, there used to be other ones, like, on fanfiction, when I was writing Projects Past, there was the big three, which was myself, Bold Execution, and W.R. Winters. And I remember W.R. Winters was really the short story guy. He had a lot of really good short stories. I would actually suggest you check W.R. Winters out. I don't think he writes Frozen anymore, but he still has, like, his past works are really, really, really good. And there was always, like, he would do, like, the shorter stories. And then he made The Ice Demon, I believe it was called. I apologize if I got that wrong, but I believe it was The Ice Demon that was his bigger story. And that was really good. And then there was me with Projects Past, and Vow to Keep was kind of, people like Vow to Keep. I like Vow to Keep, but Projects Past. But Projects Past was like my flagship. And then there was Cold Heart, Warm Soul, which Bold didn't update. I don't even think he still updated. Actually, I even went to check on fanfiction, and like in terms of updating and publishing, I think Projects Past is still like one of the more recent ones that like people haven't been writing Elsa X-Rated stories, and that's fair. I mean, it's been years. Did Frozen come out in 2012? If so, 2012, 2013, that's still 4 or 5 years ago. It's fair that people aren't really writing for that character anymore, and they move on to other things. That's what I had to do. I don't really want to write that much more Frozen, because it's just, there's more to do, and I think I could have abandoned it. I could have abandoned Projects Past, but I wouldn't have felt right. I wouldn't have felt right if I just abandoned and moved on to something else. I had to do it. And, some people don't. I mean, Bold Execution, for example. Not saying anything bad about him, but he just left the story. And I respect that, because as a fellow reader, I thought about that. Then again, I've never read his story. It's exposed. But some people just don't finish stories, and I don't blame them, because I've been there, and it's like, it's hard sometimes. It's really hard to write a story and finish it, and it's tough. It's a real commitment, especially nowadays when I'm trying to think of what story to write next, and it's like, that's a commitment. A lot of them could be, almost all of the story ideas I have are like 30 to 50 chapter stories, 20 to 40, 20 to 50. 20 to 50, let's say 20 to 50. And that's still a huge commitment, and it's just, it's insane, because I never want to leave a story dead, and I think that's just some people do that. It just has to be done. The big three used to be an old thing. It was never an actual thing. I just called us that because we were like the three kind of Elsa X Reader, the big three. We were the ones. We had the stories. But that's long gone now. Now, more into other things. I don't even know what Bold's doing. WR is doing Pokemon. I think I saw. I don't know. Again, my apologies, WR. You are watching this. I don't know. I apologize. I haven't really been on fanfiction done in a while. And then there's me. This is done. I'm done with Project Past. Really, mostly done with Frozen. Almost completely at this point. Which actually, done with Frozen. Let's move on to the ending. Let's talk about that ending. That ending that I worked up for like 56 chapters. Shadow versus Night. That, I know I already talked about this, but now I'm going to talk more about it. So, what do you want from me? So, as I said, it was always the end goal. And I had to get it right. That was the one fight I really had to get right. Because there were characters like, it was obvious that Alistair was going to fight. But, just how random it was that, because Shadow was a twist ending. Like, twist, he was the bad guy. I know a lot of people assume that the guy in the suit that was let up for so long was actually like Eric or something. Or I think someone even said Alec, which was a fairly good guess. But no, it was Shadow, because it was always at night. I had to make sure it was always at night. It was always at times where Night, reader, you were, incapacitated or sleeping or something, I always made sure it was during those times. And to have it at the end, and I really liked the idea, because, there had to be, like, a reason. And I feel like Shadow's reason for wanting his own life and for fighting is extremely valid. Like, no one can say that it was a bad reason. Like, he was stuck in someone else's body for so long. He was always in his own little war, and he always was on limited time. So he wanted to live his own life, and to do that, he had to kill the person he cared about the most, which is you, the reader, Night. And he didn't want to. I guarantee. Like, as much as he had hatred, he had fostered hatred for Night, but he also had a respect, and that's something that I think the very end got was the respect. I'll get to that later, but like, they both respected each other. They're both the most powerful beings. They were the most powerful Dracons, and their fight nearly tore apart I almost, in early drafts, I actually had those two, like the fight, going from timeline to timeline. Did I do that? No, I didn't do that. Did I? Frig, now I can't even remember. Oh no, I feel so bad. Oh my god, did I do that? I don't think I made them hop timelines. If I'm wrong, frickin', smack me. That's fair, but I'm just going under the assumption that I didn't do that, because I don't think I did. But I always had the thought of them, like, traversing through timelines, because, Dracon blood mixed with pure energy, which they both could do, would result in them going through different timelines. So I had them, like, they would go through Ryu's era. They actually went through Dream Come True's era at one point. Oh, God, I brought that up. Oh, no. Ignore that. They went through, all these different timelines while they were fighting. But in the end, I kind of kept it to the one. I think I kept it to the one, but it kind of shook through other timelines. I believe I made it. But it just, like, it was a battle of ideals, and that was the point of the title. Like, neither of them wanted to kill the other, but both of them had to, or else everyone would have died. I think Shadow said it. I'll kill you, and if I can't kill you, then you'll kill me. And if you can't kill me, then we'll all die. That's how it was. And they were both completely equal. And I actually liked the way I made Shadow lose, because he used up more energy than Night. So Night just had that advantage. He had the survivability. He lived long enough. And then in the end, Shadow respected. And I guarantee if Shadow would have won, then the reader would have respected Shadow right back. Or, Night would have. I don't know if you guys would have. I'm pretty sure if I made you die at the end, you would have been mad. Sorry about that. But, you know, then thinking on that, the power multiplier is ridiculous, because I came up with this idea, and, you know, I lightly touched upon it. I thought it was weird to read, though, where it was like, you know, base Dracon form U, Knight, is 5. And then when you absorbed Carnage, it was 5 times 5, which is 25. When you absorbed Shadow, it was 25 times 25, which is 625. Which, again, like, look at that difference. You went from 25 to 625. Like, that's massive, you know? Like, the power jump was immense, which is why in the fight with Alistair, you just kind of smacked him around because he was nothing. But then at the very end, when the 625 Shadow merged with, or, like, gave himself again to the 625 freaking Knight, that bounced him up to 390,625, I think. I could be wrong. Yeah, I think it's 300. So just look at that. They went from 6. Again, this is like power. Like, this is no like power level from Dragon Ball or anything. It has nothing to do with that. It's like Knight could get soloed by first form 3, so he's only 390,000. It's not like that, but it's for comparison's sake of, you know, 5 to 25 to 625 to 390,625. Like, this guy gets strong. Like, like, it's almost ridiculous. When I looked back at that, I was like, oh my god. Like, I said that Knight and Shadow could, like, possibly destroy half the solar system. That's 625. Dracon's galaxy level. It's ridiculous, but, you know, it's fine. Like, whatever. Who cares? It's well earned. And I think that was actually one thing that I really liked. Like, I know he's overpowered as balls, and he really is. Like, I won't deny that. But you kind of saw the journey, you know? You saw him from literally his first day of that high school all the way up until becoming, like, the savior of the world. So it's like, I don't know. I like it. I like that. I really like how I managed to get from point A to point B. And I feel like it was organic. I feel like there was no point where it was like, it was a massive, like, oh, how did this happen? Or, you know, like there was a leap in just like, oh, somehow conveniently found this. I always felt like it was organic. Like, you know, people knew things. He figured out details and clues, and he got to this point, and he got to that point, and then in the end, that's where it led him. I always felt like I did a good job at making it organic and making it flow well. And then the ending, the epilogue. You know, I had that epilogue in my head for a while, and I think a lot of people liked it. You know, everyone, you know, Alistair, Knight, Alistair Knight, god damn it. Alistair, Juno, Carnage, Shadow, the Elementals, Tempest, favorite Elemental, not really. But, you know, all these Elementals there, and, you know, everyone who is in his journey, and he's just, like, watching him, you know, a final goodbye from the afterlife. And I just thought that was the perfect way to end it. You know, that's how I wanted to end it, and I'm glad I managed to do that. I managed to get to the ending that I wanted, and I couldn't have asked for more. Project's Past, it may not be the perfect story. You know, I could go back and I could change things. I could probably make it better. But in the end, it's what I wanted. You know, I finished it exactly how I wanted to finish it, and I did everything I wanted to, and that's all you can ask for, right? You do what you want to do, and then it's done. You did it. No one can tell you that it was wrong, that, you know, you shouldn't have done this. Or I guess people could tell you that, yeah, you should have done this, you should have done that, but, you know, who cares? You know, it was my story. I finished it how I wanted to, and I couldn't have asked for anything more than that. I can't think of anything else to say about Project Past. So, you know what? Oh, Christ. 39 minutes. I apologize if you're still here. Good for you, because I didn't even get to the questions yet. I just talked about Project Past for 39 minutes. All right. Well, now we're going to get on to some comments and questions from you guys. So first we have Blue, the Blue Shadow, who's on Twitter. Thank you very much. Sorry about that. Hold on. There we go. Whatever. Ignore that. There. Sorry. Okay, so Blue Shadow. I'll say it now, there's no doubt in my mind that was the best story I've ever read, Chinsangan. I don't know what you plan to do with your life, but there's a chance of you becoming a full-time author. Oh, but if there is a chance. You know what? I am an author. I'm a writer, not a reader. Leave me alone. I hate reading. It's not my fault. Okay, I'm sorry. But if there's a chance of becoming a full-time author, I will buy all of your books. Well, thank you. I actually do have one completely original idea. I've written a bunch of stuff for it, like notes and stuff, but nothing concrete yet. I started reading your work about 3 years ago. The first story I read being A Vow to Keep. That happens, yeah. From the beginning, I couldn't put it down until I'd finished it, and as soon as I did, I began reading Projects Past. I can relate to that, because that's what I did with Merricat Pick's story. In between, I've read all of the rest of your stories, and you have never once disappointed me. Well, thank you. You are the best author I've ever seen. Ever seen. Okay, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. Well, thank you. Stroke my ego. And I look forward to seeing more in the future. Keep up the amazing work, buddy. Virtual handshake. Well, virtual handshake. Thank you. Thank you, Blue. I really appreciate that. It's always the readers that keep me going, honestly. I couldn't ask for anything else. Now we're going to go to fan fiction. We're going to read these reviews. This one's from Manuel A. Garcia. All I can say is, stands up and claps, bravo, you are a writing god. Oh, now I'm moving into a god. Oh, Jesus. You have made one of the best stories I have ever read or have ever had the honor of reading. Now, I saw you said something about bonus chapters. That is true. Looking forward to those. Kind of hoping one or two involves news of a pregnancy and the delivery of a baby. It's not really a spoiler. There won't... I don't think I'm going to write the delivery or anything like that. In truth, and again, this isn't really a spoiler. This is like a summary. I kind of planned on having some of the bonus chapters, the little mini arc afterwards was going to be like 10 to 15 years later, So, everyone would have been older, their kids would have been kind of grown up, But I don't know if I'm going to do like news of a pregnancy or delivery of a baby. Maybe. No matter what, you were amazing. I'm sad that it's over, but it was so worth it. Thank you for your great story. You keep on writing. Don't ever stop. Thanks. Well, thank you, Manuel A. Garcia. I very much appreciate that. All right, now on to Zach1187. God, I sound so monotone. Hold on. I'm sorry. I've been talking for like 42 minutes. Leave me alone. So I think I began reading this story around chapter 9 when that came out. I left my first and only review of it on chapter 26. Watching this story grow and grow in intensity from those points is nuts, and it's amazing that you actually managed to finish it. That doesn't happen often, and especially not with stories of this quality and length. Yes, as I said, something like Cold Heart, Warm Soul, A Bold Execution, it's a huge story, but you never finished it. That happens. And I'm even proud of myself, and honestly kind of surprised that I managed to finish it. Especially the type of story this is. I mean, a Frozen reader's insert story got this good and intense. Yeah, it got... it's not your typical Frozen reader insert story. It's pretty crazy, and to be honest, I kind of got tired of Frozen overall, but I still followed and read every chapter and update of this story because as its own thing, it was really good. Thank you. Good enough to follow despite my waning interest of Frozen. I can't wait to see what you do next. Looking forward to the new Crimson Shadow chapters coming up. At the time of recording this, I did just post chapter 28, so there you go. And anything else you have in the pipeline? Congratulations on this story and everything else, man. It's really great to see what you've done with this story. Thank you very much, Zach1187. I appreciate that. W.R. Winters. Ha, my friend Winters. Well, there's so much to say and yet nothing to say. 3 years since it began, and I have been here since the beginning. Unfortunately, I don't have the memory to remember when I first read this story. Haha, it certainly can't come a long way, as it has. Nearly 450,000 words. Okay, thank you, W.R. Winters. So it's huge. That's easily that's easily 3 to 4 regular length fantasy novels, and you die. Oh, and you did this. Okay, sorry. You did this without getting paid for the story. Yeah, you got your Patreon supporters, but that's not entirely the same thing. Yeah, whatever. I'm sure you get my point. Yes, I do. Remember when I used to proofread this story? I do remember that. It was between when Nuclear Deadline left. You proofread, and then I got Possessed Nights. Thank you, Possessed Nights. Pretty sure those chapters were in the 30s. I checked. It was 29 to 36. Good times. That was a very long time ago. So it's been a while since then. Probably for the best that I stopped. I wasn't the best proofreader anyway. Oh, that's not true. That's not true. But enough about me. This is your story. No, I enjoyed reminiscing about the old times. Sure, I may have been quiet for the past 20-something odd, give or take a few chapters. But I never lost interest in this story. It was one of the best reader inserts I had read when it first came out, and it still is one of the best today. It's both nice and sad to see it come to an end. Yes, it is. The blessings and curses of reading fan fiction or any book that takes you on a journey, I guess. Yeah, that's true. Even for me, ending it is really weird. I wasn't expecting the story to end the way it did, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It was a good and satisfying ending, so I applaud you. Thank you. Was it a perfect ending? I don't know. Perhaps, perhaps not. I can't say for certain. But nonetheless, I am glad to have gone on this journey, as your name, in projects past. I wish you the best, and I'm eager to see what you do next. Well, thank you very much, Winters. Again, I'm being monotone. I know it, and I apologize. White Rose Kid. It was an awesome story. Thank you very much, White Rose. White Rose Kid. Venomous Phantom. Venomous Phantom. I love you. Wow, just wow. What an amazing and surprising end to an amazing story. It's kind of weird to see it end. I just can't believe it. And then there's Shadow, and that was a huge twist. I never saw it coming. Ha, that's the point. I am glad that you showed why Shadow was doing this. I'm glad... Jesus, I'm sorry. I'm glad that you made it so that it was impossible to hate him. Yes, that is exactly how I meant it. Like, if I didn't want people to hate him, I wanted them to... I felt sympathetic. Yeah, exactly. I wanted people to feel sympathetic for him. He wasn't a crazy, he wasn't like Eric or something, just some crazy guy wanting to take over. He just wanted to live his life and fulfill his duty with his own power. I understood that he had to lose. I still felt really sad because he made it clear that he just wanted freedom. Like I said, he just wanted to make his own path, not help someone and not help someone and get no credit. Oh yeah, sorry, I misread. And I was glad that even before the end, it was shown that they still love each other. Yes, they do. But they had to end it. This was a great ending, and I'm glad I'll still see more. Man, this was a great story, and I'm glad I kept following it. Oh, what a wonderful way to end this. I'm glad you can start working on Ruby's story. Yes. Ruby's story, though, I'm not going to lie. Like, I love this story, but I also love Crimson Shadow. So, yeah, great job, man. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm going to be working on that a lot now. Rival Wraith, has it been 3 years? Yes, it has. Well, this was easily the best, albeit longest, story I've read on this site, and I've read many fanfics. Thank you for taking us all on this journey with you. It was certainly worth it. Well, thank you, Rival Wraith. Oh, god damn it. Rex. Shepherd. God damn it. Oh, Christ. Alright, Jesus. Now we're going to move on to Wattpad. There was none on, there was Blue's Message on Quotev, and one on Archive, or none on Archive of Our Own, so nothing to worry about there. Okay. So, Rain 106. A good ending. I feel like it's... A good ending. I feel like it's an excellent example of your growth as a writer, and I'm sure you will only get better. I envy those who have the pleasure of reading such a riveting story, reading such a riveting story finished. Envy those who have the pleasure of reading. Emotional strife is difficult to portray in most books, but you nailed it. Oh, thank you. To the references to the tropes and the plot. To the references to the tropes and the plot that kept me guessing, I can see why you continue to inspire people and set an example for beginners. An underdog of authors. I admire your resolve, professionalism, and creativity. I wish I could forget it and read it all over again. I love how you say professionalism, and this is like the worst. This is the least professional. 50 minutes. I am so sorry. I guess this is kind of like a mini podcast, I suppose. You know, I honestly didn't mean for it to go on this long. 50 minutes. What are you gonna do, right? Where is it? Lax Guy, an amazing job. Sorry. An amazing end to an amazing story. Good job, man. No other readers insert books has been able to make me feel for the characters like this has. It actually made me emotional to see Shadow have to be put down. Then you got me again by bringing him back to see his brother get married. Well, anyway, congrats, man. You made a story that you can be very proud of, and I can't wait to see what you have planned next. Thank you very much, Lax Guy 44. Joseph 493. This was a great story, but it's pretty sad that it had to end. The ending is very satisfying, and it was a good way to end such a good story. Thank you very much. Light 1108. Honestly, the story was amazing, and I'm kind of sad to see it end, as am I. But at the same time, the ending was very satisfying. It tied up all the loose ends, well, except for Eric, but that will come. Yes, that will come. That is part of the mini arc. And having all the characters appear at the end gave a bittersweet feeling, especially Shadow and Carnage. Overall, this was an amazing read, and I'm glad to look forward to what you come up next. Thank you. Rose Tiger 1. This story was really good, and I love it. Sad that it ended, but I will always read it. Thank you very much. Green Arrow 11. I remember you. This book has been my all-time favorite and will most likely be my all-time favorite. I can remember waking up in the morning and changing as fast as I can so I can read the next chapter before school and just completely zoning out and taking in all the details and just amazingness. The twists were amazing and just perfectly timed. Everything about this book is wonderful. I enjoy it thoroughly, and I can't wait to see what you have to offer next, because if it's anything like this, it's bound to be great. Thank you very much. Green Arrow 11. I know it's kind of just like me, but like I want to get to all of them, you know, because this is you guys. You know, I want to read what you guys have to say. Bryant Collins 3. Okay, this is by far the best story I've read on Wattpad. Oh, Wattpad. I found this book when I was just randomly reading X-Readers. Randomly reading X-Readers. There you go, alliteration. This and A Vow to Keep. Then I found Crimson Shadow and found out that you also wrote this book. Oh, so you found Vow to Keep and Crimson Shadow, and then you were like, oh, wait a second, this is the same guy that writes Project Past. Ooh, that's pretty silly. Let's keep snapping. I wasn't here since the very beginning, but I was here from the chapter 15 and on. Yeah, to be fair, anyone who's not on fanfiction.net wasn't there from the very beginning, because a fair amount of time after I started, I transferred these over to like Wattpad Quotes have an archive of our own. A while after I started, so no one on these sites could really be here since the very beginning. But still, it's been a crazy ride, and I absolutely loved every moment, every fight scene, every character, every twist and cliffhanger. This has been an amazing story to read. I know a story is good when it connects with my emotion. Oh, when it connects with my emotion. So there's just an I. This epilogue actually made me tear up, seeing everyone at the picnic table, seeing Shadow and Carnage back together. It was the perfect way to tie it all together. Thank you for writing this story, and I can't wait to see what you have in store next. Thank you very much. Frost 101. I remember Frost 101. No denying this, but you're the #1 best male reader writer I've ever seen. I don't think I am. Maybe. I don't know. I'm definitely top 3 of the people or of all the work I've seen, at least.
Saying it's narcissistic. He thinks he's one of the best.
3 years writing. Come on, man. Give this to me, please. I've ever read. I loved how serious this story was, both sad and happy, and how romance between the reader and Elsa grew throughout the chapters, especially the bonds that the reader had made with all the Disney characters, like I said. Possibly my favorite parts of the story. #1 being this whole thing that started with the reader going to high school. Exactly, that's what I said. It was cool to see him go from this spot to that spot, or like from point A to point B, as I said. Can't wait to see what the next bonus chapters, especially with Eric. Good luck. Thank you very much. I feel like I'm missing some questions. I feel like I am missing some questions. Because I remember there were questions here. Oh, okay, yeah, okay, back to Rain 106. I thought so. Some questions. Okay, so here are some actual questions from you guys to me. Thank you. Which character was the hardest to write? Which character was the hardest to write? I actually almost want to say it was the main character because he was both serious and joking, but not. It was really weird. The main character is like a weird one, honestly, but I think he's not the hardest. Maybe Shadow or Alistair. I wanted to get them right. Who's the best character in your opinion? I think Alistair Knight is the best character, in my opinion. He very much has that same thing where, you know, he has a reason to do what he's doing. He's not a bad guy. He wants to stop the world from being corrupted. He wants to stop the corruption. And he wants to be an arbiter, one who is completely neutral and who can judge all crimes fairly, so that something like what happened to him, where his entire family was murdered, could never happen. Like, you know, because his family was murdered and then they just got away with it. So, you know, he's just a cool character. What are some of the places that you regret putting in the story? What are some of the places? Like locations or just things in the story? I don't think I regret putting anything in the story, to be honest. At least, I don't regret putting anything on the story. Are any characters inspired by people you know? No, that was a different story. No, I don't think Projects Past has any characters that come from my personal life. I remember in Dream Come True. My apologies. My apologies. That's such a Canadian thing. Sorry, I yawned. My apologies, in Dream Come True, Mac and a couple other people were inspired by people I actually know. But in this one, no. Rapunzel's frying pan versus dragon sword. Well, you know, the dragon sword's got to have the dragon tear. If not, definitely Rapunzel's frying pan. It's anti-Dracon. Is there any authors that inspired you? If not, who are there? Mercat picked. I answered that one. He definitely... Without Mercat picked, none of my stories would have come. So even if you don't like my Frozen stuff, 57 minutes in, you probably like my Frozen stuff. You know, even if you don't like Frozen and you're more into Crimson Shadow, or even any other stories after this, they all came from Frozen. They all came from Mercat picked, so you gotta give them that. What was your favorite part of the book? The ending. Oh, the fight scene. The last fight scene between Shadow and Carnage. Or, not Shadow and Carnage. That's coming. That's a deleted scene that's coming. But yeah. Definitely the fight between Shadow and Night. I did Frost 101. Ride the Lightning. It's kind of sad to see such a great story end, but the time has come. I absolutely love this story from start to finish, and the ending on the last chapter was amazing. Thank you, Ride the Lightning. I might start paraphrasing a little bit just to kind of get through this, because again, it's been about an hour. I don't want to take up any more of you guys' time. Granted, this is a video which you can pause and come back to, and it's I don't care. The Canadian side of me is just like taking up too much of their time. You gotta send them pancakes with plenty of Canadian maple syrup, sent on a mousse, with someone saying I don't know, Canadian stereotype. Oh, god damn it! I even have my Captain Canuck. I even have a Captain Canuck, but there you go. See? Canadian. Through and through. There we go. Christ. This comment may be offensive. Oh, that's not nice. Fugitive Plane 4. God damn it, why? And I was like, oh shit, son, this book was lit. But anyway, the first book I've ever read from you is Crimson Shadow, and I fell in love with it. Thank you. Then I started looking at your other stories, and that's how I came across Projects Past. Fair enough. I hadn't even seen the movie, so I figured I'd watch it since I wouldn't know what would be going on. You really didn't have to. Once I started reading, and also fell in love with it. Okay, it was around about when you reached 40 chapters. Okay, so that wasn't too long ago. Started reading, so that's a lot to catch up on. That is true. High one sup. Congratulations on the finish. 3 years. That's a lot of writing. Yes, it is. Believe you me. I had one question for a while. How does the flask that auto refills the drinks work? If you put milk in it, would it stay cold? Yes, it would. That's yes. Whatever you have in there, you drink it. Refills. There's a temperature setting, warm or cold, whatever you like. Have infinite hot chocolate if you wanted to. All up to you. Yeah. So there you go. High one sup. Okay. Okay. Colby Boyd. Review. All I can say is that I loved every second of it. The story was paced very well detailed, great fighting scenes, and just overall great story that always had me coming back for more. I would give it a 11 out of 10 if that means anything. I'll just end it here as I'm not good at the whole reviewing thing, but I do have questions. Alright, number 1. Other than Crimson Shadow? I'm assuming Crimson Shadow. Are you planning on making any new stories soon? If so, can you say what they might be about? I can. I mean, I guess this doesn't have much to do, but I'm still going to answer the questions. Okay, so I'm going to be working on Crimson Shadow. I'm going to be coming out with... I've been debating this for a while, to be honest. There's Limitless, which is the Yang X Saiyan Reader one. There's Bearer of the Curse. No, it's not Dark Souls. Those are the two I really want to do. Apologies. Those are the two I really want to do. And I think they're going to be my next ones. I know the poll said you guys want to like Star Wars, and I'll start working on that, or at least getting up an idea. But I don't think that's going to be a thing soon. It's an idea. I have an idea for it, but I don't know if that's going to be like the next story. Other than Ruby, though, if I was to do something that wasn't Ruby or Frozen, I probably would do Kill la Kill. Only because I kind of have, like, I literally have the beginning, middle, and end. Like, I have that completely thought out. So writing that would be really easy. It wouldn't really take that much time. I have a couple stories like that. Bear the Curse is like that. Illusion is like that. I have a couple that are just ready to be read. My goodness, I apologize. My bad. It's not even that late. It's 10:30. Come on. What was your favorite part to write in Projects Past? What was your favorite part to write in Projects Past? Final fight scene. Your least favorite part? That's a good question. Actually, my least favorite part. I can't think of it. Off the top of my head, I can't think of my least favorite part to write. It's probably somewhere in Act 2, because Act 2 is just so big. Probably. If you could go back and change anything, what would it be and why? I would change up the pacing of the early chapters. I would probably change up most of Act 1. Like, it wouldn't be different. Like, I wouldn't take any scenes away, but I'd just kind of add to it. Yeah, that would probably be it. Just because it's kind of... like comparing like the first half and second half of the story, it's just like there's a clear gap in skill and writing. So I don't know. That's just what I do. Yeah, Wesker. Did you have any inspirations as to how you write your story? Americat picked. If you were offered to make Projects Past a TV show, anime, cartoon, whatever you want, would you do it? Hell yeah. Why wouldn't I? That'd be awesome. I'd definitely do that. That'd be awesome. Demon Man. Nice job finishing. So what now? I already responded to that. Samael the Dragon 1462. In all honesty, In all honesty, the ending is perfect. It would have been better if you could have made it where Big Hero 6 was at the wedding and Kristoff, Wasabi, and Fred were the main characters' groomsmen, while Honey, Lemon, and Go-Go, along with Anna, were Elsa's bridesmaids. I mean, I could have. I mean, Kristoff was the groomsman, technically. But I feel like Wasabi and Fred, and then Honey, Lemon, and Go-Go, they just aren't close to the reader and Elsa enough to be like that. I mean, it would have been probably Kristoff and Flynn, and then Anna and Rapunzel, to be honest. I don't think I would have had them. But still, the ending was perfect. I have a couple ideas for stories that I want to rave. Okay, that's something completely different. Darkness Overlord, no, I don't want it to end. But in all seriousness, this book was amazing, especially the last chapter. Thank you very much. And that's it. That's it. That's all the questions. That's everything. Okay, so that was it. I think I talked about Project Past. I think I talked about it enough. An hour and 4 minutes. An hour and 5 minutes now. I think that's enough. I can't think of anything off the top of my head that I want to talk about. If you guys have questions, since this will be video, you can leave a comment and I'll respond to it in any way that need be. I don't plan on doing videos like this very often. I thought about just doing these for certain, like when I finish a book, and then I do like this, exactly like this. Oh, my throat kind of hurts from talking so much. So, thank you for watching. I don't think I'll be doing anything else here. I mean, the only other time I would use this YouTube channel for videos is if I ever do the audiobook of one of the stories, which oh god, no, that's a shameless plug. That's a shameless plug if I was to say that. But yeah, I guess I could talk about it for a second. There was an idea of making audiobooks of Projects Past, How to Keep, things like that, get people to voice over it, but that costs money. And again, this is shameless plug, but I wouldn't be able to do that until a Patreon would reach a certain point. This isn't me saying it, but yeah, go give me money on Patreon. It's nothing like that. But since I brought up the audiobook thing, I just don't want people to get their hopes up. It's just oh, he's going to do an audiobook, and then it's no. Well, maybe, depending. So that's just all that was. Don't think that I'm trying to plug it, which I guess I still did anyway, so it doesn't matter. I'm still a shameless sellout. But yeah, that's all I really have to say. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me for about an hour and 10 minutes. I really appreciate it. You guys are what keeps keeps me going, writing everything. Projects Past, well, that's done, but the bonus chapters of Projects Past, Crimson Shadow, all the stories in the future, it's all because of you guys, and I couldn't thank you enough for it. Your support means everything to me. It really does. So thank you very much. This is my Projects Past discussion and face reveal. So, hold on. Hey, Wes, say goodbye to everyone. This is my cat, Wesker. So, we'll say goodbye to everyone. Say bye, Wesker. Bye-bye. You don't care. I disrupted him from his nap. But yeah, okay, so I'm gonna say goodbye 8 times, but yeah. See you guys later. Hope you have a great day or night or whatever it is you have. Later.